Today, we're diving deep into Yellowstone's secrets. What are park rangers really witnessing after dark? 8 stories await, each one stranger than the last. Ready to hear what they've been keeping quiet? In 1987, a family leaving their Yellowstone campsite late at night saw a strange, bright blue light above the trees. It moved with purpose, pulsing like electric arcs. The children were curious. The adults were silent, captivated by this unexplained sight. The light vanished, then returned stronger and closer, illuminating the trees with an eerie glow. Suddenly, the light darted, hovered, then plunged like blue fire. The family felt vibrations and pressure in their ears, as if rapidly ascending. The father decided to follow it down winding roads into restricted Yellowstone areas. The air grew metallic, and their radio went to static. The children's excitement turned to fear. Through the trees, they saw a large silver-gray object about 40 yards across, resting at an unusual angle. The ground was torn, trees snapped, and steam rose from glowing seams on the object, which pulsed with faint blue light and flickering red signals. This was not a typical plane crash. Police appeared, blocking the road and warning them to stop, but the family had already witnessed something unusual. The object buzzed with a deep, low hum. Ignoring officers, the father edged forward, drawn by an inexplicable urge. Black, unmarked trucks arrived, with people in protective suits carrying advanced equipment. They bypassed police smoothly, acting on a strict protocol, setting up scanning devices as the object's blue light pulsed. A mix of metallic and burning wire smells filled the air. An officer asked for their identities with a formal tone and warned them to turn around immediately and not discuss what they saw. As the family reversed, escorted by officers, the father glimpsed movement inside the object, something inside. The people in protective suits moved quickly as floodlights erupted and a perimeter closed around the site. The next day, the news only mentioned a small plane crash with a brief official report, ignoring the family's experience. Days later, federal agents quietly questioned the family about their route and observations, handing a card with instructions to report if anyone asked about that night. Months later, the father returned to find the road sealed off by barricades, floodlights, and rangers, guarded like a secure area. No explanation was given. The mysterious object, the official response, and the sealed area suggested a story far beyond any official explanation. Why do you think the official news only reported a small plane crash, while ignoring the family's dramatic account? Comment and chat with me. And just when you think you've seen it all, what lurks silently in Pelican Valley's shadows, leaving footprints that defy explanation? Deep in Yellowstone's remote Pelican Valley, closed after dark due to grizzly activity, 2 rangers patrolled in late July. Their task was checking camera traps, monitoring elk and bison. The day was normal until sunset, when heavy, deliberate footsteps echoed across Pelican Creek, bipedal and unlike any known animal. From behind willows emerged a 7 to 8 foot tall figure, walking upright with broad shoulders and long arms. Its face appeared ape-like, covered in dark fur, and its eyes showed intelligence as it watched the rangers from 70 yards away. Trained to stay still, the rangers watched as it moved confidently through the water, before disappearing into the forest. At the riverbank, they found 3 massive footprints, larger than any humans, without claw marks or pads, clearly from a bipedal creature. The rangers photographed and measured the prints. Suddenly, the feeling of being watched returned, prompting their quick retreat. That night, sleep was uneasy. Other unusual sightings, like rare bears or moose, seemed normal, but this felt different, beyond known North American wildlife. Days later, a veteran ranger shared that similar stories exist, but warned that reporting anything other than bears could lead to doubt or silence. The National Park Service regulates wildlife reports to focus on known species. When the rangers checked camera footage, the primary video covering the sighting area was missing, removed by someone with higher clearance. The biologist's evasive reaction suggested limited disclosure. Across Yellowstone, some evidence disappears, questions remain unanswered, and the park's public image as home only to known wildlife is maintained. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming journeys. Next, deeper in the Lamar Valley, another shadow moves with a strange combination of 4 legs and 2 legs, challenging everything we thought we knew about Yellowstone's reclusive inhabitants. The Lamar Valley, called America's Serengeti, is famous for wolves, elk, grizzly bears, and bison. Visitors come to witness this rich wildlife, but after dark, when tourists leave, a different mystery appears. One evening, an experienced park ranger patrolled near Tower Roosevelt, checking campsites and food storage. A thunderstorm gathered over Blacktail Plateau with dark clouds and promises of lightning and rain. Around 5 o'clock, the ranger took a restricted service road back to the station. The road runs parallel to the main highway, but leads deeper into Yellowstone's wild forest. The pine-scented air and rising wind made the storm feel close. A mile in, the ranger felt a strong sense of being watched. Trusting his instincts, he slowed and scanned the tree line for wildlife, expecting bears or elk. Instead, he saw a large dark shape dart between trees, moving with a mix of four-legged and bipedal motion, unlike any animal he knew. He pulled over, thinking it might be injured. As he stepped out with his flashlight, the full strangeness appeared. Behind lodgepole pines about 50 yards away, stood something that challenged known species. Bigger than a wolf, but unlike a bear, it stood upright with unusual proportions, long arms, an intelligent posture, and a nearly human face with a canine-like snout. Lightning flashed, freezing the scene in the ranger's memory. The creature was 6 feet tall, hunched, powerful, with eyes reflecting intelligence beyond instinct. Following safety rules, the ranger backed away slowly. The creature then bolted deeper into the forest, shifting from four-legged speed to a bipedal glance back that seemed calculated. He locked himself in his vehicle, unsettled and questioning what else might live hidden in Yellowstone, unseen by science and possibly not officially acknowledged. Later, reviewing unofficial park records, the ranger found similar reports of wildlife anomalies, or unidentified large predators. Official explanations often called these misidentifications of wolves or bears, but descriptions suggested something extraordinary. Veteran rangers quietly shared dogman sightings in remote park areas, stories told informally but never officially reported. An unspoken code keeps such experiences private to protect careers and Yellowstone's public image. If you want to see the creepy discoveries inside Yellowstone National Park announced by the management, I've also added a direct link to the video in the pinned comment below this video. And don't forget to come back, the next discovery is about a different perspective than the tourist or ranger. Maintenance workers see Yellowstone from a different angle than tourists or rangers. They work behind the scenes in restricted, employee-only areas where the park's official image gives way to stranger realities. Behind the Mammoth Hot Springs Hotel, a small workshop stores maintenance equipment. Surrounded by staff housing and thermal features, the hiss of steam and sulfur creates an eerie atmosphere. One night around 9:30, a maintenance worker with 7 years' experience stayed late to finish repairing a water heater. The familiar sounds of mammoth, steam vents, settling thermal cracks, and distant hotel guests comforted him. But when he stepped outside to get a wrench, a new sound interrupted the routine. Gravel shifted heavily near the building, too loud for foxes or coyotes. He called out, expecting to scare off someone, but silence followed, unsettling him. Shining his phone flashlight around the corner, he saw something unusual, a large figure near the foundation, with glossy dark gray skin or fur that reflected light like metal. The figure stood upright with inhuman speed, over 6 feet tall. Its limbs were slightly too long to be human, and it stooped as if hiding its size. The worker glimpsed intelligent glowing eyes that chilled him. Then the creature vanished silently into the darkness, moving like smoke with barely any sound. The worker froze, heart pounding, struggling to process what he saw. Later, co-workers shared similar stories. A housekeeper mentioned guest reports of tall, shadowy figures behind mammoth terraces at night. Officially, these were called misidentified bears or people, though descriptions suggested something different. Employees near Canyon reported strange clicking sounds not matching known wildlife, and others spoke of fleeting shadows moving fluidly behind trees. These tales remained quiet, talked about informally, but never officially reported. The worker's colleague recalled seeing glowing orbs near Norris Geyser Basin. An electrician at Old Faithful Inn reported a pale, lanky figure peering from an empty room in winter. These encounters share patterns. They happen late at night, near geothermal areas, and in places with few people. Yellowstone's unique geology may create conditions allowing strange phenomena to appear or attract unknown entities. In February 2023, a visitor to Yellowstone experienced the park's mysteries during winter. They joined a snow coach tour, one of the few ways to explore the park then. Their driver, an experienced man, shared stories about rogue geothermal vents and sudden road collapses, hinting at deeper secrets he couldn't fully explain. At Old Faithful Snow Lodge, the visitor saw a strange nightly event. Around 8:30, as photographers captured geyser eruptions, a soft orange light flickered near trees in the upper geyser basin. This orb moved smoothly among lodgepole pines with no visible source or shape. When approached, it quickly darted away. The light interfered with electronic devices, phones and clocks, showing erratic times, jumping unpredictably. This was not a typical glitch but disrupted the functioning of electronics. The next day, while skiing near Biscuit Basin, the guide shared local legends about ghost lights and energy near geothermal zones like Firehole River. When the visitor mentioned their sighting, the guide smiled knowingly, but dismissed it, showing how staff quietly acknowledged such phenomena without discussing them officially. On the way to Mammoth Hot Springs, another driver hinted at strange sightings but stopped short. Near Norris Geyser Basin, the visitor felt a strong sense of being watched by an unseen presence. This primal awareness caused physical nausea and a deep unease connected to the park's hidden forces. That night, an off-duty ranger described staff experiences with light anomalies, unexplained voices, and strange events beyond normal explanation. He explained Yellowstone sits on a massive supervolcano, whose intense geothermal activity might weaken dimensional barriers, allowing glimpses of other realities. This visitor's winter journey revealed a Yellowstone beneath the surface, full of secrets, energy, and mysteries still beyond our understanding. What do you think is behind the strange sightings near Yellowstone's geothermal spots? Drop your theories below, and let's start a conversation. A visitor named Lucy experienced an impossible encounter during her August trip to Yellowstone. What started as a routine hike to photograph a waterfall turned into a test of reality and time. Lucy began early, catching sunrise at Grand Prismatic Spring from the Fairy Falls Trail overlook. By 7 in the morning, she hiked the main trail, aiming to avoid crowds. Fairy Falls was nearly empty when she arrived, but the quiet felt heavy, as if the forest was waiting. 20 minutes past the falls, in less traveled woods, the forest closed around her. The dense pine canopy dimmed the light, but a low humming sound caught her attention. It wasn't natural or mechanical, it was an electric buzz that vibrated through her body, making her teeth ache and her vision blur. Her phone glitched, the camera wouldn't open, the clock froze at 8:42, and the screen flickered between normal and static. Restarting didn't help, the device seemed jammed by something unseen. The buzzing grew louder, and Lucy felt lightheaded despite being at low altitude. Breaking through the trees, she saw a bright silvery oval object hovering in the sky. Not like any airplane or helicopter, it reflected sunlight oddly and stayed completely still, silent and precise. Suddenly, it moved, not smoothly, but teleporting instantly with impossible speed and accuracy, technology far beyond human capability. She grabbed her backup point-and-shoot camera, but by the time she was ready, the object vanished behind trees. The humming stopped abruptly, leaving a silence so deep she could hear her breath. Checking her watch, the time read 10:11, impossible given she started hiking at 7, and the encounter occurred around 8:45. A mysterious gap in time, missing minutes she couldn't explain. On her way back, she felt as if the world around her had subtly shifted. Other hikers noticed her shaken state and asked if she was all right. At her car, her phone returned to normal, showing the correct time, 11:05, and a missed call from a friend at 9:15. During the time her phone had been malfunctioning, the call appeared in her history as if always there, creating a paradox that challenged her sense of linear time. A massive object lay on its side, just off the road, at least 40 yards across, maybe larger. Its surface was smooth and silver-gray, glowing faintly with blue light that pulsed from narrow seams. The ground around it was torn apart, dirt piled high, trees broken and scattered. Thin steam or smoke rose from the surface, twisting into the cold night air. He slammed on the brakes, and the car went silent. Less than 100 yards ahead was something that defied explanation. It wasn't a plane, it wasn't a helicopter, and it wasn't debris. It was whole, unbroken, and unlike anything they had ever seen. Up ahead, red and blue lights flashed. Police cars blocked the road, and officers waved for them to stop. But it was already too late. They had seen it. And that was only the start. Steam still rose from the torn earth where the object had struck, leaving the soil raw and smoking. The father said the air felt thick, almost heavy. Inside the car, the children whispered questions no one could answer. Through the windshield they could feel it, a faint hum, not loud, but deep enough to vibrate in their chests and press against their ears. The father crept forward until they reached the front of the line. A police officer stepped into their headlights, yelling for them to stop. His voice cracked with strain. From where they sat, the family had a clear view. The craft loomed off the road, smooth and unbroken, the dirt beneath it scorched. Thin blue light glowed along its seams. It didn't look wrecked, it looked active. They sat for 10 long minutes. More cars lined up behind them, headlights stacking into the darkness. No one moved. No one spoke. Every person was staring at the same impossible sight. Then the rumble began. It started as a deep vibration under the tires, growing louder by the second. Headlights appeared behind the line of cars. Black trucks, large and unmarked, racing forward with their lights off until the last second. They stopped beside the police cars, and several men jumped out. They weren't officers. They wore full protective suits with masks and gloves, carrying metal cases and long instruments. Without a word, they moved toward the craft. The police didn't question them or get in their way. They simply stood back, as if they had been waiting for them to arrive. Subscribe now to join our community exploring unexplained phenomena and the wonders of the natural world. The family sat in silence. watching as men in suits moved with quick precision, giving short, calm orders. They set up strange devices around the site: glowing screens, metal rods in the dirt, scanners that beeped in a steady rhythm. Others approached the craft, pressing instruments against its smooth surface, tracing the seams that pulsed with faint blue light. The air smelled sharp and metallic, like burnt wires after a storm. The wife covered her nose to block the sting. An officer walked up to their car, his face pale under the flashing lights. Leaning into the window, he asked for their names, address and license plate number, writing everything down. Then he looked the father in the eye and said, "This is under control. Turn around, go back, and don't speak to anyone about this." Behind them, more officers were signaling for cars to reverse. The family hesitated, still drawn to the glow and the low hum that filled the air. Then the officer slammed his hand on the hood and shouted, "Go." The father put the car in reverse. As he turned, he looked back and froze. Something inside the glow moved. Not light, not reflection, something alive pressing against the seams. The men in suits saw it too. They rushed toward the craft, shouting orders, pulling equipment from their cases. The police started waving frantically, yelling for everyone to leave immediately. The family's car rolled back slowly as officers guided them away. When they reached a bend in the road, a police cruiser pulled behind them to escort them out. In the rearview mirror, they caught one last glimpse: more black trucks arriving, floodlights flashing on, and men in suits surrounding the craft. By the time they reached the main road, barricades were already up. Anyone arriving later would hear the same story: a minor plane crash. But the family knew what they had seen. The next morning, they searched for news. The paper mentioned a small plane crash, buried on page 3, only a few dry lines and a brief quote from a park official. No mention of blue lights, strange vehicles, or men in hazmat suits. The story sounded hollow and wrong. Days later, 2 men in dark suits came to their door, identifying themselves as FBI agents. Calm and polite, they asked for details: where the family had parked, how close they were, whether they took photos, and if they'd spoken to anyone. The father answered carefully, trying to stay measured. When they finished, one agent closed his notebook and said, "We appreciate your cooperation. For your safety and for the integrity of the investigation, please do not discuss this publicly." He handed over a card, then they left without another word. Months later, the father traveled near Yellowstone for work. On the way home, curiosity led him back toward the same area. But every road was closed. Signs marked "Road Closed" and "Detour" stretched for miles. Cones blocked side roads, and finally, a large barricade stood across the main route, guarded by park rangers and floodlights. When he asked what was happening, one ranger replied, "This is a restricted zone." When the father asked why, the ranger repeated the same line. The second ranger stepped closer, silent but firm. The father looked past them at the road where he and his family had seen the impossible. Now it was sealed off, guarded and silent. He nodded and drove away, realizing the truth. Whatever had fallen that night was never removed. It was still there, hidden and protected. And the official story never changed: just a small plane crash. These 8 accounts are just a small part of the strange encounters reported in Yellowstone National Park. They range from secret government cover-ups of crashed craft to creatures unknown to science, from electronic malfunctions near strange phenomena to time distortions that challenge our sense of reality. Yellowstone holds secrets beyond its famous geysers and animals. Sitting atop a powerful supervolcano, the park's unique geology might thin barriers between dimensions or attract phenomena beyond our understanding. What makes these stories compelling is their consistency, witnessed by different people, in various locations and times. Park staff quietly mention unofficial rules discouraging reports of unusual events. Evidence goes missing from official records, and authorities often avoid answering questions. The truth about Yellowstone may be far stranger than expected. These accounts hint that national parks could be more than wildlife preserves or tourist spots. They may be gateways to parallel realities, where the impossible becomes normal for those who explore beyond marked trails after dark.
Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.